welcome to another episode of All Elite Arcade. It's Monday morning, Monday day, Monday night. It could also be later in the week whenever you are listening to it because our episodes drop every single Monday. I'm here as always, Evil Uno, with my good friend, the Chugs. Chugs, it's been a big game of video games for me. What about you?
It's been a very, very big one. And again, to everyone who's watching this podcast, again, my apologies. I'm currently in a hotel room because we're filming this a few days earlier, and I'm getting ready to experience my first PAX East. So I'm super, super excited about that. Hopefully the following week's episode of All Elite Arcade, I'll get the chance to talk about it. But man, I'm doing good. I still got plenty of time to get some really, really good gaming in, both at home, on stream, and on the road. It's been a great week, man.
I'm actually very excited to talk about PAX East because I've done a few conventions, and by far the one I've been to the most and was like the first convention I fell in love with was PAX East. I went back. The first time I ever went there was maybe a dozen years ago, and I've been twice since. I tried to make a point to it. I wanted to go this weekend. Unfortunately, could not pull that off. But very excited for you to not only get to discover it, but you're also going to be discussing, I believe, some Final Fantasy stuff and some Magic the Gathering stuff. So very, very excited for what we're going to talk about next week.
Yes, very, very excited. It's going to be so much fun. And like you said, I'm going to have plenty of stuff to talk about. So PAX has been a thing on my bucket list forever. So I'm beyond stoked to be here. So excited.
Yes, if you're listening to this, you've never been to a convention, PAX is a very good one to start with because on top of having the major distributors, they have also a lot of board game stuff, a lot of VR stuff, and they have what is essentially called like the Indie Alley, which is a bunch of independent games. And a lot of times you get to play these games like a whole year in advance. Well worth your time if you can. They also have it in Australia, out west. It's a little bit of everywhere, but PAX East in Boston is typically the big one every single year, and it drops around May. So video games I played this week, I actually, you're going to hear a lot of repeats from the last few weeks because the last few weeks I've spent on Blueprints, on Expedition 33, and I'll be honest, I am so enamored with both of those games that I have not played anything else. I dabbled a little bit into our Pokemon weekly trading card stuff. I'm still dabbling in that. That new card pack is out. But most of my time was on Blueprints on Expedition 33. I'll give you a little update though. I think I'm absolutely done playing Blueprints for a little bit of time. It's not that I dislike the game, but the game is built in a way that the ending is still not have been completely discovered. There's a ton of secrets that no one's confirmed if it leads to other stuff, and because the game is so complex and has some RNG elements to it, a lot of people still don't know if there's more to discover. It's a very, very deep branching game that you really need to like have the perfect run to really discover one of the secrets, and it's just filled with secrets. So I've actually reached what I believe is an intended ending, but also simultaneously as I delve into the walkthroughs of this game, I'm realizing there's all these loose ends and there could be so much more left. And I've now reached at, I believe, 90 hours of playing this game, a point where I believe it's just beyond the scope of what I'm capable of and my patience can handle. So I think I'm now going to just step away, admit that this is an incredible game, but maybe the last, 20 hours of discovery that are left in here is not for me, and maybe a lot more for me watching it on a YouTube video when it does finally get resolved. I am excited though because there is eventual DLC. They even tease it in the game that will unlock some stuff, and I would be very, very curious to see what else they do with this DLC because you can so easily hide secrets in this thing that I think if they dropped a couple things in the next few years, this game could branch into a completely different game. It could have entirely new sections because they're just hidden everywhere. Every single room has multiple secrets in it, multiple double secrets where you think you've solved everything, and then 90 hours into the game you realize that it has double meaning. You have to find much more stuff. So Blueprint's still an incredible video game. I was very, very hard set on it being my game of the year, but now that I've put in 20 hours into Expedition 33, and I don't think I think this will be another game I spend another close to 100 hours on. It is incredible. Last week, I talked about how emotional the game intro was. You got to play it as well. I'm 20 hours in, and they do not stop with the punches. It just becomes more emotional.
Oh no!
It plays, and like the beauty of it too is like the main story is emotional, but there's also these side pieces. There's a camp system when you get into an overworld where you can go back to your camp to rest, but also to develop relationships with much of your party that you develop at that time. And I'm sure there'll be more of the party later on to develop as well, because it's built into RPG in a way that it's a 3-party system, but you can cycle in other characters to fight instead. And also because the game is so difficult, and it's based on a last-ditch expedition to try and defeat like a being, and it's intended that if you die, you die. You can face a boss and have all 3 of your characters die, and then just go into your reserve expedition as a last resort. So anyways, that is just in part of the battle system. But I'm now doing branching story paths that are not necessary in any way beyond just adding to the world building. And also occasionally you'll get weapons for unique characters, or you might get like it's a way to maybe unlock a certain passage in a map. But none of that is mandatory, and the stuff that I've played on the side is just as emotionally tugging as the main story. It is incredible. I'm falling in love with the combat. I've now reached a point, a lot of people were telling me like it's very Dark Souls in the sense that you'll see a lot of the mechanics of Dark Souls in it, and I thought most of it was the parry and the roll out of the way system that you would have with turn-based that they've added in there. But the maps are kind of built in the same way, where you could unlock paths that go back to previous paths. There's fast travels between certain points that you can have. So instead of bonfires, you would have the flags from your expeditions that you could traverse with. And now I'm seeing even more similarities, because a lot of the bigger bosses come with these incredible cinematics before, where they introduce the boss. And without spoiling too much, here comes a small spoiler with an X. They have multiple phase bosses, much like Dark Souls, where you think you've defeated it. Here comes another cutscene. Here's phase 2. Here comes another cutscene. Here comes phase 3. So I'm having as someone who's trepidatious, who wanted to like this but didn't want to get too excited about it because everyone's putting it on a pedestal, I'm not at a point where I'm like, I completely understand why people are in love with this game. I'm in love with the combat. I'm in love with the soundtrack. I've been listening to the soundtrack off air as well. It's very, very good. If you get a chance, go listen to it. And on top of that, the story has really pulled me in. It's an original concept with characters that do feel adult and human. So if you're not playing that right now, go check that out. Expedition 33 will, at this moment, I would say could be game of the year for many people, but as we're going to talk in our new segment, there's so much stuff coming out soon that who knows. It's anyone's ball game this year. 2025 has been a very, very strong year in the first half. Unreal first half of 2025, and we still have so much left to do. So those are the 2 games I played this weekend. But I know, Chugs, you've been playing so much on your end as well.
I've been playing a lot, but I do have 2 things that I want to say. First of all, hearing you talk about Expedition 33 drives me nuts, because I'm thinking about it so much, and I'm not even playing it right now. Right now, I've stopped myself and I said, you know what, I'm going to finish South of Midnight. Also an amazing game. I'm going to talk about that later. But my God, I cannot stop thinking about Expedition 33. So I'm so glad to hear that not only is it getting more emotional, it's getting even better, and it's just as much fun to play. I'm excited at the idea of the side content being interesting and you getting good rewards and stuff like that. Just what an unreal game this is. And then secondly, I love hearing you talk about blueprints, because I know we've talked about this before, but I don't have a ton of experience with like every single genre in gaming, and there are some genres I want to jump into, one of those being puzzle games. And hearing you talk about it, I definitely want to give it a shot at some point. There's just so many awesome video game genres out there. It's the best. So glad to hear those 2 are really good. But in regards to me, once again, That's how I start my day every single day, and it's also how I start when I talk about what I'm playing. Pokemon trading card game Pocket, still going strong. Currently, I'm trying to battle as much as I possibly can, because if I do 50 battles, then I get a special card. It's like the last thing I need to get in this one special section. But once again, still collecting them. I'm going to start experimenting more with building my own decks. For the longest time, I've been using just themed decks only, and that works pretty well. But I think when it comes to versing or facing other people, I feel like building my own custom deck is going to be a lot more efficient. But again, having an absolute blast with that. On stream, I played some more Ender Magnolia, which was awesome. Again, the sequel to Ender Lilies, I've talked about it before. The main thing that I wanted to mention today is I just can't get over how large Ender Magnolia is. Like, Ender Lilies was a pretty big game, and I've cleared a lot of the map. I've been playing for, 20, 25 hours probably, and there's like a whole, there are so many more sections, so many more areas for me to explore, and the detail and the intricacies and the shortcuts and the different paths that you find has been absolutely amazing. The boss fights are super fun. The story is really good. Again, if you like Metroidvanias, I know I've been saying it for weeks, but Ender Magnolia is incredible. Also continued some more time with Silent Hill 3, which has been super, super fun. I finally, like I said, with Heather, made it to Silent Hill, and those areas are even creepier. The thing that I know I've kind of mentioned this before as well, but what I really appreciate about Silent Hill 3 is I feel like more so than Silent Hill 1 and even Silent Hill 2, there are more rooms and situations that the game puts you in for nothing else than either lore or a scare. There are so many times I'll go into a room and something really creepy happens, and then I end up getting a note, or something really creepy happens and I don't even get any items. For example, I walked into this one room where, minor spoilers for Silent Hill 3, but I walked into this one room and all of a sudden I went to leave and I couldn't leave. And there's just this giant mirror on the wall. And I'm looking at the mirror and I can see that the walls are kind of starting to change, and blood is starting to come down the wall. So I go back to leave again, still can't go, come back. Now I see blood on Heather, like through the mirror. I'm not bleeding, but in the mirror I'm bleeding. Then this loud noise starts playing, so I start panicking. I'm like, what the heck do I do? And eventually the door just opened and I was able to escape. I don't know if I would have died if I would have stayed in there. I don't know if it was just to creep me out, but it succeeded. So Silent Hill 3 is great. It's super, super fun. Really enjoying it. And of course, once again, continuing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, which I'm not going to jump into too much detail for you, Uno, but once again, the Blood and Wine DLC, Tucson is maybe the most beautiful area in any video game ever. Just absolutely gorgeous. So that was all I was able to do on stream this week. But as far as playtime is, like I had mentioned earlier, we're talking about Expedition 33. I had the chance to jump into some more South of Midnight. Actually, the other night, I was able to sit down and play South of Midnight for 4 hours. Just an awesome game. They're constantly introducing these really cool, new, interesting characters. South of Midnight very, very much is based on overcoming or dealing with trauma, and they go through many different situations with many different characters about the trauma that they went through. Being a weaver, we are capturing these. So that part has been really fun. The boss fights have been great. Some of these boss fights, man, are legitimately challenging. Where you really have to focus on timing and dodging and when to use what attack. So I really appreciate that it's not just like a button mash. You just hit the boss until he dies. You definitely have to have some or some strategies. So the boss fights have been really fun. Like I said, the characters are great. The story is changing. I thought the story was going one way, and we actually took a hard left and it went a different way, which has been really cool. So the game has kept me on my toes the entire way through. I'm currently on chapter 10. So I think I'm close to the end. I'm guessing there's going to be 14 chapters, and some of the chapters are shorter than others. So, but once again, I want to make sure I power through South of Midnight before I jump back into Expedition 33. And by no means am I like, oh, come on, South of Midnight, hurry up. South of Midnight has been amazing. And speaking of amazing, last but not least, I know I've talked about this game a lot, but I am so close, 84% of the way done with the game. And that being Nine Souls on my Steam Deck. I've been traveling a lot this week, so I had the chance to play some more Nine Souls. And Uno, dude, the bosses are challenging. Don't get me wrong. But there is definitely this difficulty spike that is continuing to happen as I'm playing the game. that has me so incredibly nervous, dude, for this final boss, because I've heard people who have finished this game said the final boss in Nine Souls is one of the hardest things, one of the hardest bosses they've ever had to face. And I totally believe it based on how precise you have to be in some of these earlier boss fights. Though currently went through this one area where I defeated one of the main soul enemies to get this seal that I need to be able to continue further on my journey. And this boss, the first phase, Uno, not too bad. It's this big guy. It maybe takes 1 or 2 deaths to learn his patterns. But of course, it's not just one phase, it's 2 phases. And the second phase, he's doing more of the same, but there's completely RNG random projectiles that get thrown at you in different moves. So you have to constantly move while focusing on parrying. Also, when you press the parry button, if you are not facing where the attack is coming from, obviously it does not parry. So it's not like you can be jumping all over the place and just smashing the parry button. You have to be facing either the projectile or the enemy. So I died, Uno, literally, I just beat this boss like an hour ago. My flight was about an hour and a half. I spent about an hour on this boss. But that feeling of being like locked in and parrying like every attack and barely using any heals and just being in the zone, that feeling is so rewarding and so incredible. It reminds me of Sekiro in a lot of ways, or Elden Ring, or the Souls games. So the boss fights are incredibly fun, but I was able to really, really focus, learn all the patterns. So much is happening so fast, but fortunately I was able to do it. So again, Nine Souls, absolutely incredible. One of the most challenging Metroidvanias I've ever played. Also an incredible story. I love story in games. But yeah, Nine Souls has really kept me busy, and I think I'm getting pretty close to finishing that one. And when I do, I think on my Steam Deck next, I'm going to jump into and try to finish Sea of Stars, a turn-based RPG.
Oh yeah,
so, yeah, should be fun.
I'm very excited to hear about your way through Nine Souls, because that feeling that you're talking about with the parry system is what Expeditions 33's battle system is. Because the further you go, the more challenging it gets. That it's not just like you're getting one attack every time that they get to respawn. Is they might go into a combo of 7, and so you have to be capable of reversing it or parrying it, or else you will die. So it's not just like it's not just like trading back a little bit of damage. It's you do your little bit of damage, and then there's a 7-hit combo that you have to figure out the pattern of and hopefully parry to kind of like mitigate the damage that you're taking. So I'm very excited for you to play this, because that flow state is exactly what I'm in love with Expedition 33 about. It's
the best, man.
Oh my god! It's when you feel like you've mastered a system, and honestly, sometimes I'll have a battle and feel like I can't possibly beat this boss, and then the next run I parry every single thing and dodge every single thing perfectly, and I just feel like a god. And so that's the perfect feeling in video games for me.
It really is. And that happened to me today. So for example, with the second phase, I would die in like 10 seconds because there were all these projectiles and I just thought it was impossible. But then really paying attention to committing of like when to parry and when to do like a powered up parry that you have to do for certain moves. It feels like it would be too tight and it feels like it would be impossible. But if you trust the game and trust yourself, then you parry all of it. Mm-hmm. So I know what you mean about the flow state, man. It's so cool. And I'm so excited that Expedition 33 has that, because even the prologue area and the first couple battles I did in chapter 1, I thought the parrying was very hard. I actually went back to the dodge a lot because I was like, oh man, I'm not doing so hot with this parry system. So I can only imagine some of the optional bosses and the later bosses, how tough it's going to be, but I can't wait. Can't wait. Yeah,
so like most of it, you have a window for dodge and the parry's just much shorter, and you'll see like attacks that repeat itself if you fight the same type of enemy, or sometimes, they have multiple attacks, but there's an indicator that you're like, oh, I know this pattern because I've seen it from another enemy. And like as you've learned to dodge it, then you also learn like this is the exact time I can parry it as well. So it's an incredible system, and it has a lot more layers to it than I ever would have anticipated. And so yeah, of course, all of those games available. I think Nine Souls available on everything right now too.
Yeah, it is.
And Expeditions available on everything with the exception of Switch. So do go check those out if you're into difficult games, challenging games that reward you for that challenge. Both of those games are incredible right now, and you will get every dollar's worth for sure, because they're not a full $80 game or $70 game. They're I think Nine Souls is like $30 full price if I remember correctly.
Oh wow!
And,
yeah,
Expedition 33 is $50. So go out of your way and go check those out if you have not yet.
Yeah.
We actually have some pretty cool news. Last week you talked about GTA 6 being delayed. Well, this week we actually get to talk about GTA 6, and we will talk about that right after this. We're back, and it's time to discuss the news of the week. It is May. When this drops, it'll be May. Oh, I actually have to do the calculation. May 12th. May 12th, we're right there. You're just around the corner. You'll be playing Doom in a few days. And on that note, actually, this month of May, there's a lot of big releases. We're talking about Doom in the Dark Ages, May 15th. We have not played it yet, but the reviews have dropped at the time of this podcast recording. It is getting 9s on average across the board. It would seem that another great Doom game is around the corner. ID has done incredible on this new series. Very excited to play that. And so that'd be amazing.
I am so excited.
Oh, yes. Please.
So I'm sorry.
Go for it.
I'm so excited, but this is no surprise, right?
No,
I mean,
not even
since
a little
the
bit.
Doom
No
reboot,
way.
My God, we all knew this was going to be incredible, but I'm so glad to hear that it's even in a lot of ways clearly exceeded expectations. Because at this point, id Software or the everyone making with Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, the expectation is so high. So going in, I can imagine the reviewers and people who have played it had this expectation, and for it still to exceed, it's just awesome. But no surprise, I will be playing this day one.
Yeah, same here. Expect both of us probably to talk about it next week.
Definitely.
From my understanding of the little bit of reviews I saw, that it is a weightier game, so it has the same speed, but it is very much like every hit matters rather than like spray and pray. So very excited. It would seem that Doom has found another way to revolutionize first-person shooting, and so I'm very excited to play that game. And hopefully it has the same tone as the 2 previous games, because I really enjoyed that new series. Then also this month, we've got Monster Train 2 on May 21st. That is a sequel to the deck building game that I really enjoyed. It's lane-based, coming out May 21st. That's on my calendar to play as well. We also have Deliver at All Costs, which is a kind of like GTA overhead car game with a lot of weird, wacky GTA character style, but it is physics-based driving where you have to deliver packages, and it doesn't matter if you like drive through people or anything like that. It's kind of like it's wacky fun, but also with like a small hint of maybe serious stuff, kind of like a Yakuza based. Very excited for that.
But I'm so glad that you brought up the physics, because the destruction that happens when you like drive through buildings or run into people is wild. It seems like you could like destroy practically everything in this game.
So it does seem like that.
It looks super fun.
Deliver at All Costs will be out May 22nd. After that, we actually have 2 big releases by the end of the month. May 23rd, we've got Onimusha 2 Samurai's Remaster. I've never played an Onimusha game. This will probably be the first one I try. I just don't know if I will play it at release, but for people who are excited for that is happening this month of May. And then the big one, which we will absolutely be talking about, because both of us are big fans. Elden Ring Nightreign is coming out on May 30th. That is the more co-op focused game that is coming out. And honestly, we're probably a week away from getting a big info dump about it, because we have heard about it. We saw some footage for it, but it was like 4 months ago, and I feel like we're right around the corner when the pre-access to this will probably drop. So we're probably going to hear a lot about it very soon.
I think so too. And fairly recently, we got that more updated trailer where it explained in detail all the different character types that you can choose, and a lot of the different enemies and bosses that you fight. I also saw they added in some armor from Dark Souls 1, from Dark Souls 2, from Dark Souls 3. So it seems like there's going to be I love the idea of this being like a celebration of the Souls-like franchise, but everything that From Software has done. I don't know if it's going to be like this, but my God, I hope we can fight Artorias. I hope we can fight Ornstein and Smo. I hope we can fight everyone. I mean, we'll see. And obviously they've kept some stuff hidden, but even the little previews we've seen with like Nameless King and stuff, oh my God, I'm excited.
Yeah, we're very excited for this game. I know both of us will be talking about it. May 30th is when it drops, end of the month, and that is your big releases for the month of May. If there's anything we might have missed that you might be interested in this month, do let us know, because I'm always looking for new games. YouTube.com/AWGames. Get in the comments. Evil Uno will respond. All right, our big piece of news this week is we talked about GTA 6 last week. They came out and they said that officially it will not be releasing 2025. They will be releasing the game next year, May of 2026. While sad it is the way it is, I would much rather a good Rockstar game than something that it rushed. And because we were delayed, thankfully they also just dropped a trailer, the second trailer this week. And look, I'm going to get into some details in this, but I can tell you this might be the most stunning looking video game I've ever looked at.
Absolutely.
With the exception of the faces having to have somewhat, it's not cartoony, but it's not full realistic, because if they went full realistic, it would have that Silicon Valley thing. Everything else feels like I'm watching a video, which is insane. The GTA 6 2 trailer dropped on YouTube. It's already the biggest launch on YouTube ever. In its first day, it eclipsed Deadpool and Wolverine's trailer, which was the next biggest YouTube launch of all time. And it blasted over 475 million views in YouTube alone within 24 hours, which means who knows where else. The views elsewhere must have been insane as well.
Yeah.
And they are also reporting, so if you have watched this trailer, we'll go a little more in depth with it, but if you have watched the trailer, every single piece that was in there was actually in game, captured with a PS5. They did not specify if it was a PS4, PS5 or PS5 Pro. I would presume a Pro. It would make more sense to showcase it at its best, but
you would think though, Uno, but I'm sorry, very quickly though, I do notice that a lot of developers have been very careful about putting either PS5 or PS5
that
Pro.
Is true.
Like I've seen, so it's, again, you're totally right. I immediately am thinking, oh, it's PS5 Pro, but I do find it interesting that they did not say that.
That is true. They haven't gone out and specified which one it was, and so there is a chance to sell PS5, which honestly I would not be surprised if Rockstar makes this work and maximizes the use of the PS5, because they are geniuses when it comes to engines, their engine. Yeah. But so completely captured within PS5, which if to you that means nothing. Most video games, when they release a pre-trailer, a gameplay trailer or anything, it's usually captured on PC, because on PC you can easily mod the settings. You can make sure that your engine runs at its fastest. Console, usually it needs to be optimized for console, and so the fact that this looks so stunning and it's off a console is actually incredible news a year out from this release. It probably means that the next year is probably strictly a Q&A and just user-driven testing of the video game, because this is going to be such a massive game. There's almost no way they're not perfect it without a year of QA. So we got some details about it. I do want to rattle off some small stuff. The story is about Jason and Lucia, two lovers, ex-cons, who I believe go into a heist. And unfortunately, there's a criminal conspiracy. We don't know the situation, obviously. I'm not going to give you that much story. But it would seem that it does not go well. From what we see in the trailer, it also seems that the game might span several years, because it does seem, and this could be a pre package to the prologue and then might be into the game. We're not quite sure, but it does seem to be over several years of their relationship as well. And it is featured, and if you did not know this, it's situated within Vice City, no longer in the 80s, now current times, and a new Florida area that is based on the Keys. And now I'm not a Florida expert, but as a Florida expert, you were telling me that it looks stunning and exactly like what Florida looks like.
Dude, I have so much that I could say, especially about what you had mentioned earlier, but to specifically go into what you're talking about. The thing that blew my mind, I lived in Florida for 8 years, and watching this trailer, I'm like, oh my God, I drove that road like once a week. And oh my God, I swear I passed that house. They absolutely nailed Florida. Rockstar is unbelievable, especially, and this is cool because this is the first city or open world they built where I actually lived in this area. So to be able to like pinpoint exactly where this stuff is was just so bizarre. Again, nobody does open worlds like Rockstar, nobody. And I can only imagine how unbelievable this is going to be. But yes, the attention to detail to make it seem like real Florida, 10 out of 10, man. They nailed it.
And the lighting in this is incredible. The voice acting, it looks like it's genuinely going to be some of the best voice acting we've seen in video games in some time, which is saying something, because voice acting in video games has been incredible in the last, I would say, 10 years. It's been to the level of a movie. And back in the day, it was just kind of a secondary job for most people who were voice actors. Now it's straight acting. We're seeing some of the best performances of all time. This looks incredible. I know I don't want to get too hyped up on this game because I think the shoes it needs to fill to be any better than GTA 5 are quite large, but this looks like it will be a home run for sure.
It really does, man. Again, the hype around this has been absolutely incredible. And again, just to mention quickly, as far as the graphics go, because I agree with you, it's maybe the best looking game I've seen. But even like the condensation on the beer bottle as he's like leaving the gas station, I'm like, what in the world is this? Like, it was just so impressive. And you know the open world is going to be super lively. Red Dead Redemption 2, one of my favorite open worlds ever. Obviously, GTA 5, a lot of people's favorite ever. I really do think this is going to be their biggest and best project. I really do. And actually, as disappointing as it is, obviously we want to play this game as soon as possible. I completely agree with you in the sense of hey, take your time. You want to make sure the game is properly out there and finished and will cause the least amount of problems, and I respect Rockstar for doing that too, and I think it will. But then I was wondering also, with how big the online play is in GTA 5, I almost bet some of this delay is them trying to figure out how they're going to make this server work. Because I bet you, Uno, there's going to be like 50 million people playing Grand Theft Auto 6 in a day. So it'll be very interesting. I'll be curious how that goes about. But yeah, obviously Rockstar taking all the time they need. No one does open world like Rockstar does. GTA 6 is going to be a movement. It's going to be a movement.
Yeah, on the subject of the online stuff, I can't imagine knowing you're about to release the largest property in video game history again. And like how do you top the previous one? Because that's made money for over a decade on GTA Online alone, and as well as the single player mode. But then, like, on top of trying to top that, how do you live up to the demand? Because in the first week there could be 500 million active players, if not a billion people in the world playing GTA. It is that game when it comes to video games. Everyone's going to be playing this thing, especially the people and like GTA has like hundreds of thousands of active users now on its previous game. A ton of people have dropped out from that. How many people are going to jump in first week? I would be very, very excited to see what they have planned, because there's no way those servers hold up in that first week. I'd be very surprised.
Me too, man. I'm so curious as well, because like you had said, I know overall in the history of video games, some games have sold more. They're obviously incredibly popular franchises like Call of Duty and Fortnite and Madden and things like that. But I can't think of more hype around a launch in the history of video games than GTA 6. I can't think of a bigger one.
Not at all.
It's going to be unreal.
Yeah, this is the big. I mean,
this is it.
We're going to live this, and then probably 15 years from now, we might live GTA 7. That's
or Red Dead 3.
That's true. Actually, yes. Yeah. You know what? That'll be the next one, and then GTA will probably 25 years later. Who knows?
Easy. Yeah.
So not the only incredible news we got this week. Gears of War. The big Microsoft franchise is finally coming to PlayStation this year in August, as well as on PC and Xbox Series. That is Gears of War Reloaded, which is a modernized version of the original Gears of War game. So the first one features all of the content and improvements from the Ultimate Edition, as well as modern performance boosts. It's available on all platforms, including PlayStation, which is a huge move, but also not the first Microsoft move. Now, they own Bethesda, so a lot of games are on both consoles. And on top of that, the only thing I think they haven't started porting over is Halo. So this is like this is the last bastion of their IPs that they have not moved over. I'm I'm excited to see what the reception on this will be, because it is kind of odd to know that a Gears of War game will be playable on a Sony platform.
Yeah, it's wild. It's really, really wild. Because when you think of Xbox, at least to me, the two franchises I think of is Halo and Gears of War. And as we're seeing more and more games go over to PlayStation, I know it feels strange probably to a lot of Xbox fans, but I know we've talked about this before. Man, if this introduces a whole new crop of people to how incredible Gears of War is, I'm all for it. I hope this is so successful. Gears of War is so much fun and such a great franchise. So that's really, really exciting. And I'm also wondering too, this is a complete guess and a complete shot in the dark. But I'm wondering too, because they're making this game Gears of War Reloaded, just a remake of the original Gears of War. I wonder if Xbox plans on like releasing some of their earlier games, even with like a remaster or remake touch to it, but then the new ones like Gears of War E-Day, I'm curious if that'll just be Xbox and PC. Because then I'm thinking, again, Halo is the last franchise pretty much that has gone to other consoles. So I'm like, maybe for the next Halo, maybe they'll release the Master Chief Collection on PlayStation 5, but then the new Halo is on the current Xbox. Complete guess, but when I saw that, I was like, I'll be very curious to see if Gears of War E-Day ends up on PS5, at least immediately. So we'll see.
Yeah,
See.
Microsoft can go a variety of ways on this. They could do a timed exclusive where Xbox has it for a full year. They could make full exclusive and release all the previous games in hopes that people will jump off to Xbox, or they could simultaneously drop on all consoles. They're still going to make money because they get to publish it through their publishing wing to Sony. And also, if they have this as an effort to try and build Game Pass, it is the most affordable way to play those games. And so therefore, if they're trying to get people to play Game Pass, that's still the best way of doing it. You release it on everything, but you tell people, hey, you could also just play it for, $15 or whatever it is monthly for Game Pass. So yeah, I'd be very curious, because this seems like the first big test of what their first person IPs will do in the future when it comes to Sony. This, Halo, and the eventual Fables game are the three that I was very curious about. Also, Forza Motorsport, but Forza has now made the port over, at least in the previous stuff. I'd be surprised. I'd be very curious to see if they become restrictive with their IPs, or now they've come into a world where it doesn't matter. We're very confident with our console and our Game Pass stuff. We're willing to drop it, because they did that with their Bethesda stuff, but that's also had a preconceived notion that all previous games were on all console and launch. It almost would be it would be a disservice to some of their games to do that. But then for Indiana Jones, it was a timed exclusive. They had a whole year only on Xbox and PC. It took a whole year after to drop on Sony. So I'd be very curious to see what the next few years of Xbox is, because it does look promising, and they could play this in any way, and I feel like they could benefit from every single one.
Yeah, completely agree.
Quick tidbit before I have a real weird, odd news piece that I cannot believe I'm going to say. But first, Ecco the Dolphin is getting a reboot of the original game, which, if you're a Sega kid, which I had a Sega console for about 3 months when I was a child, Ecco being one of those big ones. Very exciting. I don't know who the audience for this is, but I'm excited. And on top of that, if the Ecco the Dolphin reboot wasn't enough, they're making a brand new Ecco the Dolphin game as well.
Yes. Let's go, dude. Ecco the Dolphin, cult classic.
Yes.
I think it's going to do well.
I think so too. Well. I think it's in its current. Also, like, it'll probably go from 2D to 3D, which I think will be a huge jump, because now we've figured out traversal in 3D and in water. I think there's a lot of chances this is way better than anyone anticipates, especially with the stunning graphics we can do nowadays. You can explore an ocean and actually feel like you're exploring one. I think it could be very, very neat.
I do too. And you're right about the 3D as well. Also, again, when you get further in the Ecco the Dolphin game, it kind of turns into a horror game.
It does.
Like, that game is so creepy, dude. So creepy. So I'm curious to see what they do with this reboot.
And then the final piece of news that I want to talk about this, because I cannot believe this might be true or not. Half-Life 3. If you are a PC user, Half-Life 3 for the last 15 years has been this wish that everyone wants. Half-Life 2 for the longest time was the biggest PC game of all time. Some of our friends' favorite games of all time are Half-Life games. I know Chuck Taylor, for example, Half-Life 2, biggest game in his life. Half-Life 3 has been a rumor forever. And until we had Half-Life Alyx on VR, everyone assumed that was going to be the last time we'd ever see a Half-Life game. Well, from a leak, a Valve insider claims that not only is Half-Life 3 real, it is completely playable end-to-end already, and they are in the phase where it is in user testing and QA internally, and would maybe even have an announcement by the end of the year of it existing. Now, we've heard rumors of this happening before. I remember 6 years ago, they said Half-Life 3 was real. It had been restructured, and then it was shelved. And the thing is, any other distributor, I'd say there's 100% chance that game comes out. Valve is a weird outlier where they've sat on games for a decade just testing it to make sure it's a hit. And if it's not a hit, they are not scared to just drop it entirely. They have the funds. They love to just like reinvent the wheel and be forward focused. And so, and then like if you've played Half-Life Alyx VR, it is still in the top 5 VR games probably out there right now. It is an incredible thing that they made. And so I would not be surprised if this is real, but I would also not be surprised if it's been real for a while and we still will not see it, because Valve plays things close to the chest. And if they don't think Half-Life 3 will be as good or better than Half-Life 2, I bet you they would not release it. So yeah, I'm excited for sure, but I'm still going to, I don't know if I want to believe this quite yet.
Right. I tell you what, I certainly hope that it's real. If we in some universe somehow got Silksong and Half-Life 3 in the same year, are you kidding me, dude? That'd be unbelievable. Unbelievable. But you're right. Not hold my breath, but that'd be so awesome.
Please, I want this game, but also I don't know if I have the bandwidth to play this game in the next year. Every month seems like there's a 100-hour experience I need to play. This is bold claim, but this is one of the best years of video games already.
I completely agree with you.
And so I'm very excited at the concept of it coming out, but there are some big heavy hitters for it to go against. But like if we get GTA 6 and Half-Life 3 within a year cycle and Silksong, we're done, friends. We're friends. This is the best year of video games. Yes.
It's the best year of all time. Best year of all time. And it's wild because every year has gotten better the past few years too, as far as game releases. Oh my God. It's just that the video game industry, as far as producing great video games, is on fire. Absolutely on fire. Never been a better time to be a gamer.
And there's probably games we don't even know that are at the caliber, because there are people who are making their first ever games who are just knocking it out of the park. So yeah, very exciting year in video games. Very excited for Half-Life 3. If you're excited about Half-Life 3, or if you are excited about any games this year, let us know. youtube.com/awgames. Getting those comments, that would be appreciated. Now we're gonna take a little break, because right after this, it's our favorite segment of the show, the community mailbag. We'll see you after this. And we're back. It's time for our favorite segment of the show, the community mailbag, brought to you by our friends at Upper Deck. Collect your favorite wrestlers in 2024's and 2025's Upper Deck AEW and start your trading card collection today. Unwrapped autographs, memorabilia, or premium tech inserts. We today have the 2025 pack. Here it is in hand. And I've already opened a pack. Here are our cards of the day. We've got Okada.
Nice. Good start.
Action Andretti. Julia Hart. This is the short-lived Cage of Agony. Brian Cage and the Gates of Agony.
Oh, nice.
We've got this one's upside down. We've got Cope right here. Cope, one of the most recent cards. Oh, we've got a Dark Order card. I didn't even know I was in this one.
Oh, let's go.
And it's got a shear. Oh my god, that's
beautiful.
I'm putting that one aside. Hangman Adam Page. This one's got a different here from the start card. Very nice, very nice. We've got this one's a playing card looking one. This one is Roderick Strong. Ooh,
there we go. My man.
A lot of very different cards in this one. We've got Ruby Soho. We've got another Hangman Adam Page. This one, his proper card. The Righteous in card format. And finally, Lance Archer in card format. Beautiful cards. If you want cards such as these, as well as other sports cards, go to upperdeck.com. Thank you to Upper Deck for sponsoring our third segment. Now, friends, if you want your questions answered, go to tbs.com/arcade mailbag. We can get all of the North American listeners through there. The website only allows North American people to send in their questions. And today we actually have 3 questions. It all starts with Adavan. Adavan says, on episode 54, Uno mentioned that Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle got him to try more tactical strategy games. I believe Nintendo has always been really good at giving us gateway games into genres that may feel daunting for players. Pikmin, for example, being a simple RTS, or Splatoon being a competitive shooter. Is there a genre that feels daunting for either of you that you would like Nintendo or any developer to create a gateway game that can get you to try that genre? Great question.
Such a good question. Man, as far as the games that maybe feel daunting for me, the 2 ones, which again, we've already talked about this, but like the real-time strategy games is one that I haven't really dove into yet. Even honestly, I've tried them a little bit, but like strictly puzzle games, stuff like The Witness and Blueprints and things like that. I feel like Nintendo could maybe do something cool there. But I did want to mention this particular genre, even though I'm already very into them. But it feels like with games like Expedition 33 and the remaster of Super Mario RPG and things like that, I do kind of feel like, and obviously Metaphor, like the comeback of turn-based RPGs is kind of on the cusp of happening again. And even though I'm already into that genre of games, but I'm just imagining how cool it would be to get another turn-based RPG Mario game, or a turn-based RPG Zelda game, a turn-based RPG Donkey Kong game would be just so unbelievably sick. And I feel like for some people, not for me specifically, but for some people, I know turn-based RPGs are pretty daunting, and I feel like Nintendo could just do such an amazing job with these franchises that are so loved by millions and millions of people. So I think, generally speaking, the turn-based RPG, even though again that's still popular, but I think I could get even higher up. And for me, definitely like real-time strategy or puzzle games. I feel like Nintendo could do something really cool with that also, which they already have. So
yeah, when it comes to puzzle games, I was thinking that as well. But they did Toad's Treasure Tracker, which is like voxel-based puzzle game, which I really enjoyed. But there's a lot I think of variety in the puzzle genre that Nintendo can definitely go and make an incredible amount of games because they own so many IPs. But for me, if we're talking about a genre I've never gotten into, is the civilization-based games where you're building cities, or you're building empires, or you're going through an entire history of a civilization. I personally have never been driven towards those games, but Nintendo has a knack to make video games that I care about. I don't know what IP could pull this off. Making Mushroom Kingdom over and over does not seem that enticing to me now. But
it seems pretty cool to me.
Yeah. I mean, but simultaneously, it's probably the easiest way to get me to play one of those games. But I feel like Nintendo could do that, could simplify it in a format that I would understand, and then maybe start getting me to branch into much larger ones. Because my biggest thing is they are very daunting. You get into those games, but it takes you 15 plus hours to maybe understand most of the mechanics based in them. Because it's very, very complex stuff. So I would love for Nintendo to make a Civ-like game. I'll pick an IP, let's say, I don't know, make a Donkey Kong.
you gotta make it.
That'll do it. That'll do it for me. But there's probably other IPs.
That's a great answer, Great.
I think so too. Actually, another Earthbound would be a very cool, because they haven't done anything with that in quite some time. Yeah. If they made a new RPG Earthbound, that would be wild right now in a JRPG world. Yes. In fact, make Earthbound. Make Mother 4.
Yes, please.
We've waited so long.
Yes.
Adavan, thank you so much for your question. Incredible question.
Great question.
Our next question is from Brad. Brad says, "Hey, Chugs and Uno, loving the podcast. Thank you very much. What is your favorite short game that can be beat within 10 hours or less? I've got a few picks myself. Uncharted 1 to 3, Rollerdrome, and the Halo Reach campaign."
Ooh, very, very good choices. Very, very good choices. Yeah, for me, the one that the ones actually that immediately come to mind really are some of the older Telltale games, man. Like the Walking Dead season 1 and 2 has stuck with me since I played that game. Again, that's a decision-based game where it changes the outcome of where things go, what happens to characters, and things like that. Just beautifully written stories. If you like story in video games, my God, the Telltale games, specifically the Walking Dead season 1 and 2, Tales from the Borderlands was absolutely incredible. Game of Thrones was absolutely unreal.
Wolf Among Us.
Yes, The Wolf Among Us, another great one. So I'm going to go with that franchise or that series of games from Telltale. Like they're definitely under 10 hours, and it's an amazing experience, and it's a story that you'll think about for a long time. So I'm going to say a couple of Telltale games.
Also, I'm going to go in a different area for this, but I will suggest, and I've talked about it maybe once or twice on this podcast, but there's an indie game called A Short Hike, where it is a little whimsical world. It's like a little open world, but it's an open world that you can explore and achieve everything within it within 3 hours. It's all built around a mountain and a little villages around that mountain and path that goes up to the peak of it. There's a bunch of quirky characters. It's very colorful. And to me, it's the perfect palate cleanser after you've played a very serious game. It's just right to the point, exactly what you want from one of those games. And so if you have not played A Short Hike, I would suggest that great little game that you can complete within 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
Brad, thank you so much for your question.
Yeah.
Last question for the day is Keenan. Keenan says, "Hey guys, what is your opinion on the greatest opening of a video game ever?"
Baby.
Keenan says that Final Fantasy VIII for me, without a doubt. Squall and Cypher's duel with Liberty Fatale playing in the background still hits to this day. I must have listened to the entire OST soundtrack, the OST hundreds of times in high school. Thanks for taking the time to answer my question.
Oh man, such a good question. Okay, so the one that I'm gonna give two answers, but actually my real answer is going to be the second one, but I feel like I have to mention this nonetheless. Is speaking of Final Fantasy, the opening to Final Fantasy VII is absolutely burned into my memory as well. I've seen it so many times. One of the most iconic moments ever. When they did Final Fantasy VII Remake and I saw the remake intro for the first time, I got teary-eyed. Like it was just, I love that intro so much. One of the most iconic intros ever. But I'm actually going to give a different answer for my main definitive. This is my favorite opening. No, actually, never mind. I'll get into that later. But the Ghost of Tsushima intro, and specifically when they showed the title screen, there's a point where Jin's song is playing and he's on a horse and he's riding through the field and there's like movie style black bars across the screen. Yes. And then as the music kicks in and you get out into the open world, the bars raise up and then it's full screen of you controlling and riding the horse and you're going through this beautiful field and the words Ghost of Tsushima pop up on the screen. Me talking about it, I get chills. I have it recorded on my phone and sometimes I just watch it. I love that intro so much. So I'm going to say the intro to Ghost of Tsushima as far as a modern one.
This one, I'm also on the modern train here, and it is kind of, we talked about Doom coming out, the next Doom game, and so it does seem odd for me to say this, but Doom 2016, when it came out, it had been a very, very long time since we had seen a Doom game. The last game being Doom 3, and a lot of people were not sure what the tone of Doom was going to be. I think it's an incredible intro because it's a game about shooting demons and nobody gives a damn about the lore of the game. You're a guy who's cool as hell and you shoot demons. So the game starts and you are the Doomslayer coming out of a casket. And as you come out of the casket, a figure comes in and it starts giving you the monologue of what the story is. But as it happens, your character just breaks from its shackles, punches the screen that it's being told the information in, and you're just right into the action. And the music kicks in, and the beautiful part of it is the music kicks in, you get through a first room, you cock your gun to the sound of like the song, and the Doom logo comes up. To this day, I still think it's one of the most exciting intros, straight to the point, and it really, really determined what the Doom type, or at least what they were trying to say as a story, which, like, there's a ton of lore to this, but we understand no one gives a damn about this. You can delve in if you want. This is a game about shooting people. Let's get to it. I love it.
Dude, I'm so glad you said that, because that intro is incredible. But you bringing that up, I have to bring this up too as an honorable mention. The Doom Eternal intro to me is just as iconic. Like the part where, again, the song is kind of slowly building up, and the last piece of dialogue you hear is from someone who's in trouble, and they're saying, somebody, please help us. And then he cocks the shotgun and the music really kicks in. It's the most, I want to run through a wall when I watch the Doom Eternal intro. My God, so sick.
And you know what? I would not be surprised if the Dark Ages has something equally as fun, because it really sets the tone of how those games are, and I'm very excited. Great question, Keenan.
Great question.
Made me reminisce of Doom games, and I definitely want to play some more right now. If you want to get your question answered on a next episode of All Elite Arcade, go to tbs.com/arcade mailbag. We will pick 3 questions and we will answer them at the end of every single podcast. You can actually find our podcast Monday on all podcast networks. We're available in audio format. If you want to watch the video format, we're on youtube.com/awgames. It drops at noon Eastern Standard Time on Monday. Make sure you hit that subscription button so that you are notified when the video comes out, as well as MXM's show that comes out on Thursdays, Bronami Code, where they play video games backstage with a talent or talents every single week. I will be on Twitch at some point in time. I'm taking a little break because we've been traveling so much, but twitch.tv/eviluno. Chugs, where can they find you?
I will also be on Twitch, most likely today, actually, as this podcast drops. Twitch.tv/thechugs. I'm going to continue my first playthrough of Final Fantasy VI, my first playthrough of Stellar Blade, and of course Ender Magnolia, Silent Hill 3, and The Witcher 3. It's going to be a great week. Whenever Doom comes out, I might end up showcasing that game, because I can't wait for Doom: The Dark Ages. But it's going to be a lot of fun stuff on Twitch, twitch.tv/thechugs.
So do check us out, and do check out next week's episode of All Elite Arcade, where we will definitely be talking about Doom next week, and hopefully the Chugs will talk about his PAX East experience and whatever he may have a chance to get his hands on this week. We appreciate you all for listening. We thank you so much. This wouldn't happen without you, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.